You never got a chance to actually physically work in the pit. Did you ever get a chance to learn the hand signals?
Totally forgot it. Because I never got to practice it.
I went to learn two very simple ones. Okay, what do you think this means?
Sell.
Sell. Yeah, do you know what this means?
I don't have.
It means I don't have money. Yeah, that's my own money. Hi, welcome to another episode of The Real Deal. We're sitting with a very important person in Singapore who has been at the helm of Tiger Brokers here in Singapore for quite a while now. And today, the CEO of Tiger Brokers, Ian Leong, is here with us. I thought it was very interesting that you brought up your desire to develop the investment industry in Singapore as a whole.
Not everybody in Singapore invests as compared to, say, for example, in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, out of 10 people, at least 7 of them have invested before. Let's say you ask anyone down the street, do you know what is 9898? They will tell you, yeah, it's Alibaba.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in Singapore, if let's say you ask anyone what is D05, what is, say, for example, G13.
The other thing is the scam hotline, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I always hear a lot of people always say investing is only for the rich. No, it's a misconception. Investing is for everyone, anyone that is comfortable enough to start.
So Ian, not many people know that this whole journey of you getting to where you are started off from when you were 7 or 8 watching a TV show.
Back then, my parents always asked me what you want to do when you actually grow up. You know, it's the usual, perhaps I'm going to go sign on, or perhaps I'm going to be in the civil service as an educator, teacher, so on and so forth. So I was like watching this show, I was like, what are all these guys doing? Why are they in this pit alike? They're all with their hand signals. So I was like, hey, why is it so exciting? Are they doing a job? Are they playing a game or what? So that was when I actually asked my mom, Mommy, what is this? My mom actually told me, oh, Ian, they are stockbrokers. It's what they do for a living. Previously, I always thought that a job is a 9 to 5, repetitive, it's boring, going through the motions. So I was like, whoa, you mean there are such interesting jobs available? So I told myself, when I grow up, I have to do this.
So you then watched this show, right, as a kid, and then when you actually reach that point where you're old enough to enter the industry, how do you get the job? Where do you look for opportunities? What happens?
I joined this industry sometime about October 2010. To be frank, this is a very niche industry back then. I do not know anyone from the industry. So how do I increase my odds to join this industry? Before I joined this industry, I passed all my papers. For you to communicate with your clients, it's always over the phone. So I asked myself, what are some of the soft skills that I need to master? I need to master how to speak with clients over the phone. So how best to learn from it? Join a call center. I was with DBS Contact Center, based in Alexandra, doing the banking operations, call center side of things for 10 months.
Wow.
The only time we'll call a bank's call center is when we are not happy with certain things. So at that time, I told myself, how would I know whether have I mastered the skills? It's when I can change a complaint into a compliment. At that time, I was still taking my university. So after I graduated, I only sent CVs to securities companies. My very first one was actually a Kim Securities.
Yes.
Now, because it was bought over by Maybank, so right now it's called Maybank Securities. When I first went in, unfortunately, they actually do away with the pit. Everything actually went electronic, 100%. So I was like, hey, why the dealing room is filled with computers? Everyone are just looking at their own monitors and on the phone. I was like, is it going to be a repetitive 9 to 5 job again?
Which is what you were trying to avoid, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But after that, that was when I realized all of them are always on the phone with different people talking about different conversations, different topics. So it's not exactly looking at the same thing repetitively. When it comes to the investment stock market side of things, a lot of things are very fluid and ever-changing.
You never got a chance to actually physically work in the pit. Did you ever get a chance to learn the hand signals?
Totally forgot it. Because I never got to practice it.
I went to learn two very simple ones. Okay, what do you think this means?
Sell.
Sell. Yeah, do you know what this means?
I don't have.
It means I don't have money. Yeah, that's my own money. Yeah. Am I right to say that in your 20s, there was an investment decision that you made that you weren't very happy with? Would you share what happened?
At that time, us being young, we want, like, say, for example, highest returns in the shortest possible time. Yes. If you ask me, looking back on hindsight, it's not investing, it's speculation. I was looking at a particular company in the commodities sector.
Okay.
The peers announced very, very good results. Very, very good. So the moment they announced the results, all the share price actually went up. So I told myself, they're also going to make very, very good results. Let's just make a big one. Yes. Unfortunately, their results were not as stellar as the peers. So price actually went down a lot. So then I told myself I couldn't take it really high to cut loss. I lost a fair sum of money. How could I make such a bad mistake?
Yeah.
That was the first thing that came into my
A lot of shame, you think?
A lot, yes.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's the way I was brought up. I don't really share problems with my parents or family because I do not want them to be worried. Chinese is always about the face. So I can only bottle up in myself. So it was a very tough period. But new environment comes, new challenges that actually piqued my interest at that time.
Yeah. After 20 plus years of working in this space. So now what is the interest for you?
So 3 years in, that was when I actually had my first taste of managing my own team, a small team of 4 to 5. And additional 2 years in, I managed actually to lead a whole department of dealers, which is like say 50. So at that time, I realized, hey, I kind of like the management route. Ever since then, it's always on the leadership route instead of doing sales.
So in the companies that you moved to after your first one, they were quote unquote more traditional securities firms, right? Why did you choose to join, well, Tiger Brokers? Because it's pretty different from other securities firms.
The very first time I heard of Tiger Brokers was actually back in 2016, 2017. At that time, the company I was with, my boss asked me, have you heard of Tiger Brokers? So I said, no, who are they? So at that time, the directive was very simple. All right, go find out who's Tiger Brokers, go research on them. In the event whereby they come into Singapore, make sure our defenses are there.
Oh, so this is before they were ever even in Singapore?
Yes.
Interesting.
So the more I research on them, the more I told myself, gosh, you mean there is such a model for a broker? And I told myself, in the event whereby they come to Singapore, I have to join them.
Oh, your boss messed up putting you on that project.
We are still best friends. So
Okay.
So at that time, I wanted to join Tiger Brokers to disrupt the industry. So after I joined them, I learned about a lot of different strategies that we had unseen of in the local landscape. The more I learned, the more we implemented and executed. Our growth was fantastic at the time. All this is public information. Within a span of 1.5 years, we acquired more than 380,000 new accounts, unseen of at that time.
Wow. A lot of stereotypes exist, as you can imagine, about people who choose to work in finance, who choose to work in sales. I think some media portrayals also contribute the stereotypes. So this clip is from the boiler room.
Ben Affleck.
Become an employee of this firm, you will make your first million within 3 years. Okay? I'm going to repeat that. You will make $1 million within 3 years of your first day of employment at JT Marlin. There is no question as to whether or not you'll become a millionaire working here. The only question is how many times over. You think I'm joking? I am not joking. I am a millionaire. It's a weird thing to hear, right? I tell you, it's a weird thing to say.
Okay. The boss trying to encourage his employees by saying you will be rich, right? Don't worry, you will make money, but you better do your stuff right. I mean, is that how the culture is in the industry?
Yes, because after all, it's always a sales job. When it comes to sales job, my role is to make more money. My role is to make more commissions. It's not just evident in our industry. It's evident in almost any sales-related industry. I would say our leadership style is a bit different. One of the first things that I learned when I first joined this industry was our word is our bond. If your main objective is always about money and commissions, you may make decisions that may not be in the client's best interest. If we place our clients' priorities and needs as the #1 priority, our clients will feel it. To me, it's always about trust. In a relationship, there must be trust. Be it a husband and wife, there must be trust. In terms of clients, there must be trust and love. And from there, we can have a long-lasting relationship together. My dad always tells me, aim for your dreams, aim for your life goals, the money will come. If you ask me, money, it's not the end product. It's a means to the ends. My kids, I do not mandate them that you have to be in the finance or say, for example, the securities industry. No, you do what you like. So like what I will share with them, like what I will share with my colleagues, to be frank, I'm doing something that I love. So I don't see it as work, I don't see it as chore, I see it as a passion. So every day when I wake up, Even though there is stress, I'm loving it. 16 years in, I'm still loving it. So similarly, when it comes to my kids, it's the same thing. Don't put finance as the ends. It's a means to the ends, whereby for you to hit your ends, yeah, the finance will come. Chinese have a saying, 上梁不正,下梁歪. If the top of the pole is crooked, the bottom of the pole will also be crooked. It's insinuating that if the leaders are on the right track with ethics and integrity and clients' interest as number one, the guys will follow because this is the culture of the company.
So I imagine that with the work that you do and the role that you're in, you must command a certain amount of money in terms of your salary. And yet, what I've heard is very interesting, where you have chosen to continue living in a HDB flat with your family, right? Not only do you not drive a fancy car, you don't drive any car at all, you take public transport. Were all these intentional choices? And if so, why?
I wanted to stay near office. So commute to and fro is less than 10-15 minutes. So I stay in Tiong Bahru. I also emphasize a lot on space. And first time I'm sharing this, I harp a lot on feng shui and numerology. So it took me a while to find that place. So when it comes to transport side of things, essentially, I'm a very bad driver, right? And then more often than not, I'm always meeting up with partners, meeting up with clients, meeting up with friends, over dinners, sometimes drinks are involved. I do the right thing by not driving. So it comes to a point whereby I don't see a necessity when it comes to owning a car and driving a to and fro.
Right. I mean, but then you have the other side of things. I've heard it so many times, right? Where people say in order to be successful in business, in order to be successful in sales, people must see that you are able to earn money and then they'll trust you with their money, right? So it's always that logic where you must drive the fancy car, you must have a nice watch, you must live in a nice condo or a nice house, and then people will park their money with you. I mean, what has your experience been with that? Is that true?
It's always about something that's tangible and intangible. The tangible asset is, and when it comes to, like, say, for example, luxuries in life, the intangibles is always about in terms of ideology, in terms of what you're doing best, not just for the clients, not just for the owners, but also when it comes to our staff and colleagues. That's where a lot of us would need to take note. I don't think I'll be setting out a very, very good example in my instance if for me to convince you to follow me and do the right thing, I need to show you the excesses in life. It doesn't make sense to me that way. I should lead you on how best to navigate your career. Because at the end of the day, all of us are not here for a job. We are all here for a career. Career is long, job is at the current moment.
So our viewers they come from all sorts of backgrounds, right? Since I have you here, Ian, may I ask you for some advice on their behalf?
Please.
Yeah, so not financial advice, but more of, I suppose, the psyche behind being afraid of investing, right? I imagine that these groups of people that I'm about to bring up, they have their own reasons why they would not invest. So for example, we have a sandwich generation. They're relatively middle-aged, they have stable income, they're not low income, but the thing is, they feel like they may be getting squeezed from all sides, right? You're paying for your parents, you're paying for your kids, you're paying for yourselves, and you don't want to even think about spending more to invest. Psyche-wise, what would you say to them to change their mind?
This is not financial advice, so it's just my personal thoughts. I may be wrong. It's just like, say, for example, when you take a flight, they always show you the safety videos. Yeah, before you put on the mask for your kids, you put on one for yourself first. So you protect yourself first, so after that, you can actually protect the people around you. Likewise, it's a similar analogy. Before you pay others, you pay yourself first. So personally, I always feel that for the benefit of the people around me and myself, I need to pay myself first in terms of savings. It need not be a humongous amount. A small amount, it's fine. So even though like you have a lot of different commitments, your parents, your bills, kids' schooling, it's always about setting aside for yourself, even though it's small, but the signal they're sending to your kids, next time when they send to their own kids, so on and so forth, will change this vicious cycle. If you are stretched on a monthly basis, start small. It need not be bigger.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that. What about someone who, let's say they come from a lower income family, nobody around them is investing, they've never seen that in their relatives and their friends, and then suddenly they hear about this situation, saving and investing. What is the psyche to overcome there?
It's just like Maslow hierarchy of needs. Complete your basic needs, be comfortable, then you take the next step. It's always about having your basic needs, being fulfilled. No point doing something like investment because everyone is investing. That's why I have to invest. But I'm not comfortable doing it. It's always about paying yourself first. Put aside a very small amount. Say, for example, shares. So that instead of one Meta stock, for example, right now costs about 650-ish US dollars. We can buy a fraction of it. You can just buy $1 or $2.
Interesting. Okay. What about this last group of people? People who find investments too complicated. They're emotionally fine with investing, they'll be okay, but they feel stupid when they enter that conversation and they just don't want to deal with it. How would you deal with that?
If right now, with your finances, everything, how you're doing, you're comfortable, you feel that your life goals are being met, please stay, if the wheel is not broken, don't change it. Yes. But if you feel there is a room for, say, for example, growth, you feel that, hey, there is more they can actually do with what you have right now, we are here for you.
What advice would you give to someone who maybe they feel like they've been burned before, or now, unfortunately, very common, scam victims, they've lost so much, right? And now they're trying to rebuild and they may be looking at investments. How would you help them with whatever mentality they're struggling with?
I can empathize.
Yeah.
Because I've been there before. Take a time. Take a time. That's why I told myself at that time. There's always a grieving period. We need to set aside a grieving period. Yes. Blame yourself. Blame this. Blame that. Yes. It's fine. But after which, life still needs to go on. Over the weekend, I hosted a few friends at my place. So my wife was sharing this with my friends. My wife was saying that, Ian, don't get angry. More often than not, he'll just keep silent. I used to be very hot-tempered when I was much, much younger. In my teens, in my early 20s, that was when I actually tell myself, there's no point in, say, for example, being angry over things. So there is a autopilot mode right now. If I disagree with certain things or certain things that actually make me very, very angry, the 10 seconds kick in. Autopilot.
Wow.
But essentially, I'll just keep myself silent, processing, and by the time you process finish, usually your anger actually simmers already.
Yeah, that's nice. Thanks for sharing those words of advice. After so many years of experience in this trade, what is your personal ethos or methods when it comes to thinking about investing your own finances?
One of the mistakes that I did when I was much younger was that I didn't pace myself. Right now, I told myself, what are my goals in life when it comes to investment? Honestly, it's more on the retirement side of things and also for my kids' education. So all these are actually longer term. I'm not in a rush. Yeah, I'm looking at a good 20 years. I know I have a long-term horizon. I need to pace myself to make sure I do the right things and grow my wealth steadily for this objective.
Is there any value you think in people who have a very short-term horizon where, let's say someone loses their job and then they have this certain pool of money and they think, okay, you know what? I feel so terrible that I only have this amount. In the next 1 year, I want to make big bucks. I don't know. What do you think about that kind of mentality?
Isn't it the same as going to a casino?
You think it's gambling already, is it?
Speculative.
Speculative. I see.
So these are things that we will not advocate.
Yeah. What do you think 8-year-old Ian, is watching that show and having all these thoughts and ideas about what your future was going to be? What do you think he would feel and think if he saw where you are now?
Say it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I came to mind.
That's a good response. Yeah.
I'll be frank, I didn't have any, say, for example, certainty. A lot of people always feel that this guy is lucky, that guy is lucky, but my definition of luck is very simple. Luck is when you prepared meet with an opportunity. Yes. So at the time when I was an 8-year-old kid, I'm not sure whether I make it into this industry, let alone at what I'm doing right now. I didn't know. I can only say I need to be prepared if, let's say, an opportunity was to come my way.
Yeah, so you cannot guarantee that the opportunity will come, but you can guarantee that you are prepared if it comes.
Correct.
I like that. What exactly is the legacy that you want to leave behind in this space in Singapore?
I don't believe in leaving a legacy, etc. I also don't believe that myself could be able to achieve that. This is not personal in terms of legacy. This is what we should do as Singaporeans. This is what we should do to actually make sure that everybody benefit from it.
Yeah. And after so many years of you, focusing on one career, one industry, and you actually did it and you made it. Ian, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your insights. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me today. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.